Hi, everybody. We're back with part two of our Are You Interview Ready and disclosure. So, part two, as you can see, is about disclosure. So, the first part of disclosure is there are lots of different ways that you can do this, right? And disclosure is something very personal to each person. What I mean by disclosure is the disclosure of a barrier or maybe a disability that you live with that you feel might change the way that you're able to perform a particular job. So if you've applied for something and your barrier or disability needs some sort of accommodation, the disclosure of that accommodation is necessary. Okay, so we're going to talk about the who, the what, the when, the why, and the how. So the first part is who. Who should you disclose to? Your direct supervisor is a good start, or the human resources, like upon hire or at your interview. Some people will even do it, in the cover letter when they're applying for a particular position. So this information will be kept confidentially and should be left to you to decide who else you want to know. So your direct supervisor, your boss, the human resources department, those are some important people that probably should know about that barrier or that disability that you need some accommodations for. Outside of those people, nobody else really needs to know about that. That's up to you to decide it at your discretion as to who you want to share with, okay? So for example, if your barrier or disability directly affects how you perform on the job, right? You need to have accommodations in place that people you directly work with need to know about that in order to be able to work with you as part of a team. So what do I need to tell them? What do I disclose, right? So any information about your disability that will affect how you're able to perform on the job that you are being hired to do, right? So for example, if your disability doesn't affect your skills and abilities, then there's nothing that you need to be disclosing, okay? Unless it's a health condition such as epilepsy, a seizure disorder, maybe even diabetes, so that if something were to happen and you needed a special medication because you're having some sort of for lack of a better word, episode, and you need that medication, it might be imperative for the people that you work with to know about that, right? So, but if you need accommodations on the job that you should disclose that so the necessary accommodations can be made that so you have the greatest potential to be successful at that job, right? Okay. So when should I disclose this information? So that's different for everybody, and it'll look different for everybody, right? Because the accommodations that people need are going to look different for everybody. So it can be done in a cover letter, like I said before. It can be done in the interview, the first few days of employment, or never, right? So again, that's all personal choice depending on the supports you need. So for example, a person who has a visual or hearing impairment might disclose that their barrier in a cover letter, right? Accommodations can be made at any point in your employment. So, a barrier or a disability or whatever, some sort of accommodation, those things can change over time, right? So, I mean, maybe when you get hired, it wasn't an issue, but as time wore on, it became more of an issue. Go to your employer and talk about that, right? A lot of accommodations are very minor and really aren't very costly. Okay, so if the disability or the barrier affects your ability to perform the job, then you should disclose. So why should I disclose? So we kind of talked about that already, but so disclosure of a barrier or disability is beneficial to you and the employer and your coworkers so that they can all learn how to best support you on the job, right? So for you to have maximum um, performance level, it's important for everybody who you are going to be working with to have that information so that they can support you to your fullest potential, okay? So for example, if you choose not to disclose, there's a greater potential for your employment to break down, right? So if people at your work don't understand the best way to communicate with you, or if they don't know you need clearer instructions or an outline of duties or whatever the accommodation might be, as time wears on, that, it could break down, right? So that's why it's important that, in my perspective, to disclose right away so that you have all those accommodations and supports put in place. How do I disclose? Again, this is going to look different for everybody, right? So this is going to, but what I encourage you to do is do it in a way that is comfortable for you, right? So if you feel comfortable doing a cover letter, go for it. If you feel comfortable doing it at the interview, great. If you want to wait till you're employed and then talk about it, that's okay too. But just know that the more open you are about these barriers or accommodations that you might need due to your disability, the more open and upfront you're about it, the greater chances are that you're going to be successful. Okay, so some people choose to do it in a way that teaches other people about their barrier or about their disability so that they can understand what it's like to live, work with, and interact with others who have that need or disability or accommodation put in place, right? Okay. So that's all I've got for disclosure, but we could talk more about this in the question and answer live period. So that's on April 22nd at 2 p.m. on the Facebook page. My next workshop will be building healthy relationships and communications, and that will be posted to our YouTube channel on April 27th with a question and answer period again that following Wednesday. Look forward to seeing everybody, and thanks for coming and listening to this video. Have a good day, everybody.